What's up, everybody? Today we're talking Audition, importing sound effects, music, voiceovers, ducking, and so much more. So get ready for a pretty awesome time, and we'll get started.
Today we're going to learn the basics of Audition by using this script to create an audio commercial for a cat show. The first step we want to do is to create a folder for all of our items that we're going to use to create our project. Once you've made your folder, place all of the files that we will need for the project inside of the folder, and let's begin. Let's open up Adobe Audition, and we're going to set our workspace to Classic. Go up top to your menus to Window, come down to Workspace, and choose Classic as our workspace. On the left, this is where we're going to put all of our files. That's all of the items that we're going to need to make our project. On the right is where we're going to edit everything together in a timeline called a multitrack view. Down at the bottom, you'll find our time in hours and minutes and seconds. And then our levels down here is our VU meter, which will be very important to make sure nothing is overmodulated or too quiet. Let's begin by importing our files. Click in the window on the far left to make sure the blue line surrounds your Files panel. Then you can right-click and import. Choose your audio commercial folder that we created earlier, and we want to go and get all of our audio files. So that's going to be our VO, which is short for voiceover, and all of our MP3s that we'll be using for our sound effects and our background music. So I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to hold a Command key. If you're on a PC, you can hold a Control key, and I'm going to just click on each one of these while holding my Command key. Once you've got all those selected, click Open. The files will open in a waveform view so you can visibly see the high and low areas of the sound. What we're going to work in, however, is going to be multi-track view. Up in the top area below the words Adobe Audition, you should see the word waveform in blue in the upper left corner. To the right of that is the word multi-track. Click on the word multi-track, and a new multi-track session is going to pop up. We want to label this as last name, of course that would be your last name, first initial, which would be your first initial, underscore, audio com, which is going to be short for audio commercial. So whatever your last name is, and the initial for your first name, underscore, audio commercial. The next important piece is where we're going to save this to. So we want to hit the Browse button, and we want to put this in our same audio commercial folder that we created earlier. So click on the audio commercial folder that you created on your desktop and select Choose. The other thing I want to choose is my sample rate. 44.1 is the sample rate that I want to use, or 44,100 hertz. So I'll select that from the drop-down menu. So if you have a different number selected, if you're at 48, you can choose 44,100. We'll leave our bit depth at 32, and we want our mix to be stereo, and click on OK. Once you do this, the multi-track view will show up. You'll still see all of your files in your Files panel on the left, but our window on the right now has different tracks. Tracks are similar to layers if you're used to layers in graphic design. And we want to put a different sound on every track that we're going to utilize for our project. We're going to start with our voiceover. So left click and hold on our cat show VO, drag it over into our multi-track view. You may get an error that pops up that says the sample rate's a little bit different. That's okay, because Audition is going to adjust that for us, so all of our sample rates end up being the 44,100 that we chose. I'm going to click Don't Show Again and hit OK. It's going to pop it in here, and you'll notice that over here in your Files panel, you now have two versions, your original version and then a 44,100 wave version. And on my clip over here in my multi-track view, I can see that same file name. I'm going to click on this clip. Notice if I click off of it, it's not highlighted. And if I click on a different track, if I click back on track 1, I can click on track 1 and it's not really selected. If I click the actual clip itself, it turns that highlighted color. To move it, change it, alter it, I want to make sure it's actually clicked on that physical clip so I can move it. I'm going to click on it and move it all the way back to the left. I want to label this track so I know what it is. So where it says track 1, I'm going to click one time, and I'm going to type the letters VO and then hit return for voiceover. We gave our multi-track a name when we first created it. You can see up here, last name, first initial, audio com. It's a session file. A session file is going to keep it as an editable file, so we can always go back and make changes or make adjustments, and every soundtrack will be on a separate individual track so we can adjust each track by itself. If it was mixed down, let's say to an MP3, all of those would be together on one track and we wouldn't be able to make any changes. So we always want to save it as an editable file. That little asterisk up there means it's not saved since the last thing that we did to it. So I'm going to hit Command S on a Mac. It'll be Control S on a PC to save that file. Notice the asterisk goes away once it's saved. Along the top row of keys, horizontally left to right, at the end of the 0 key, there is a minus and there's a plus. The plus also has the equal symbol on it. If you wanted to zoom in horizontally on your track, you could hit that equal key that has the plus on it, and it will zoom you in horizontally. If you hit that minus key to the left of that equal plus key, it will zoom you out horizontally. If you want to zoom in vertically, you hit your Option key and then hit the plus, and it will expand your track vertically so you can see more of the waveform. And in contrast, you can hit the Option key and the minus key to zoom out to make it smaller vertically up and down. If you want to see your entire timeline, let's say I'm zoomed in really far and you want to see your entire timeline within that visual area of your screen, the delete key that's up at the top horizontally to the right of that plus and equals key we just talked about. Below that delete key, there's a straight up and down line with a slash going from left to right in the top to bottom direction. If you click on that slash key, it will show you all of your timeline in one main screen. So those keys are going to be important to us as we go through to zoom in to see our waveform a little bit better so we can see the highs and the low points, so we know where our voiceover might get messed up or where there might be a dead spot where we can cut stuff out and trim it to make it seem more symmetrical. The first thing we want to do is to see how loud this track of this voiceover actually is. This red line that you see right here is called a playhead. Now I can click on this little blue, almost looks like a home base button, and kind of drag it, and you can hear the sound. That's called scrubbing. So I can slowly drag through and find certain areas of what's being said. I can hit my space bar
How do you say that?
to play my audio track.
Let me look this up real quick.
And I can hit my space bar to pause my audio track. As I play,
Hold on.
notice down here these green lines
Abyssinians.
and turn to yellow. That is my VU meter. You'll see these numbers down here. Where we want our overall main mix of everything to be when we're done is between -12 and -6. If we're well below that for most of our project, then our audio level is too low. If we're well above that, we're going to start hitting in the red, and our volume level is too loud and can become distorted or overmodulated. So we want to monitor that as we go and make adjustments to make it louder or softer. If you look at our clip up here, you'll see there's two lines horizontally running through it. We have this yellow line, which is our volume, and we have this blue line, which is our pan. Pan will let you alter the sound between your left ear and your right ear, aka your left speaker and your right speaker, if you wanted to adjust which speaker the sound was coming out of. We're just going to work with that yellow line for right now. I want to adjust my volume so it is the same level pretty much all the way through from where I want it to be before I start cutting this up. To do that, I'm going to use my mixer. If you don't have a mixer tab up here beside where your editor tab is in your multi-track view, go up to your top menus and click on Window and come down and find Mixer, and you can click to open that. This is our audio mixer. If you've ever seen an audio board before that has sliders on it, this is similar to what that physical device would be. Notice the track on the left up here says VO that we labeled earlier, so that's our voiceover. If I hit my space bar to play,
We've got Abyssinians,
you should see
British
the same
Shorthairs,
VU meter here.
Burmese,
We see at the bottom.
Chantilly kittens, Cornish
So let's check our
rexes,
levels.
some splendid Egyptian mouse.
It's pretty close between -6 and -12 right here. I may bring it up just a little bit. So I'm going to listen to it and grab that little
Japanese
slider.
bobtails, Maine Coon cats,
drag it up.
and many more. Did I mention that our Russian blues,
See if I go
Persians,
too high, it
ragdolls...
gets in the red.
Sorry about that.
So I can use this slider to bring it up or down until I'm hitting around this -6 to -12 area for most of my voiceover.
Chantilly kittens.
And that works pretty good. Again, I'm hitting my space bar to pause and to play my audio while I'm on my mixer, and I can make that adjustment. Once I've got that audio level set, I'm going to go back and make some edits to my voiceover. Click back on the editor tab at the top of your multi-track session. Now let me show you this. If you accidentally double click on your audio clip, it's going to take you back into that original waveform view that we saw when we first imported all of our clips into our files window. If that ever happens, all you have to do is click back on multitrack in the upper left hand corner, and that'll take you back to your multitrack view. Now that we've got our audio level set, we want to go through and cut this up to fit our script. So what we want to do is edit out all of the times where our announcer has errors or messes up until we have a final script that reads such as this. So we'll use this to follow along to make our edits. Our first part we're looking for is "It's finally here," and hopefully we can make it somewhere to around Marsh's Cove. I'm going to move my playhead back to the front, and I'm going to hit my space bar to play.
All right, let's do this. I'm very excited about recording this today. Oh, it's all about cats. The cat show. Awesome.
So our first part we know we want to cut out already because the announcer is just talking to us. We want to try to find where the announcer actually starts their voiceover that we want to use. I'm just going to drag through the scrub a little bit and see if I can find these little areas. I'm going to hit my equal plus key to zoom in and see I can find these holes a little bit where the waveform comes down. That's where I know that I've got some spots where the announcer was quiet, wasn't said reading as loud. So that's probably where the announcer hasn't started yet. These are pretty even, so I bet that's where the announcer starts. Let's move to here. I'm going to start roughly around 14 and see if this is where we are.
It's finally here. The cat's meow tour has purred its way up to Marsh's Cove. We've got ABBA.
All right, so that gets us all the way to Marsh's Cove into our script. So that'll get us from "It's finally here, the cat's meow tour has purred its way to Marsh's Cove." So let's start with that. So I'm going to place my playhead at the point where I want to make a cut. Now, you've got a menu of items up at your top area, sort of parallel almost right there with your multitrack. Just kind of move your cursor down and you'll see that first tool is your move tool. Keyboard shortcut is V as in victory. You'll stay on that most of the time to allow you to move your clips up and down and sliding around in your tracks. The tool to the right of that is the razor tool. Keyboard shortcut is R. So the razor tool is used to make cuts within your clip of where you want to select and make a change to make a cut. I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut instead. I want to make sure I don't chop off the beginning of this. I'm going to slide it back just a little bit. Again, make sure that the clip is active. It's lighter colored so you're clicked on it. And I'm going to hit Command K. Command K is going to make a cut. Remember, that's Control K if you're on a PC. Once I make the cut, you'll see that the clip is no longer selected. But if I click individually, there are now two pieces. This first part is the part I want to get rid of, so I'll make sure that's the part that is highlighted by clicking on it. Then I'm going to hit the delete key to make it go away. Now we've got a gap. We'll address that in just a little bit. Let's go through and cut everything up first. All right, so we know we made it down to Marsh's Cove here before our announcer messed up.
Cove.
So right there at Marsh's Cove, I'm going to make another cut. So again, I'm going to click on my clip so it's selected. I'm going to hit Command K to cut, and now I have multiple pieces here again. What you want to do is go through and find our next piece. So the next part of our script is going to go, we've got Abyssinians, British Shorthairs, and a list of several other types of cats here. Let's see if we can make it to many more maybe. That would be a good place if we could get that whole section in. So let's try that. Now here's a couple other keys that can help you a little bit. If you look at your keyboard, you'll see the J and the K and the L keys. The J key is going to be a rewind key where the sound goes backwards from where you are towards the beginning. Sort of the old school spinning the record backwards. And the L key is going to play forwards.
How do you say that?
So those are your rewind and fast forward keys. So where this is important is you can listen to the audio at a faster pace to kind of get where you're going. So if I hit the L key once,
Abyssinians,
and now I hit the L key again, it goes faster. So you get that chipmunk effect as you're fast forwarding, kind of playing through the audio, trying to find the next spot. All right, we want to go try to find we've got and the types of cats
we've got. Abyssinians, British Shorthairs, Burmese, Chantilly kittens, Cornish rexes, some splendid Egyptian mouse.
She messed up again. Let's keep going.
What is that?
We'll listen to it kind of high speed here. We've got Abyssinians. I heard her say it that time, so I'm going to back up a little bit. Using my J key. I think that's a good spot to cut right there. So I'm going to Command K to cut at that spot. Again, Control K if you're on a PC to cut. Click on the part that I don't want and hit delete. All right, I'm going to slide down to this section and see if we can get this part all the way down to many more.
We've got Abyssinians, British Shorthairs, Burmese, Chantilly Kittens, Cornish Rexes, some splendid Egyptian Mouse, Japanese Bobtails, Maine Coon Cats, and many more. Did I mention that our Russian Blues, Persians, Ragdolls...
All right, so our phone rang. So we've got this part right here, many more. So we'll stop it about right there. We can see the gap where there's a space in our breath right there. That gives us a good clean cut spot. So we'll put our playhead there. We'll click on our clip so it's selected. I'm going to hit Command K. You'll hit Control K on a PC. And this is a part we're going to keep this time, not delete. So we're going to move forwards and see what we've got here.
Did I mention that our Russian Blues, Persians...
All right, so the next part of our script that we need is this part here that I mentioned about our Russian Blues. Let's see if we can get that maybe down to felines. That kind of completes that sentence or two for our next part. Let's see what we can get for that. So again, I'll find this place between the audio waveforms where it's sort of flat. And I'm going to make a cut right there. So Command K or Control K on the PC. This middle part here is the part that was the mess up we want to get rid of. So I will click on that and hit delete so that it goes away. I'm just going to slide down here a little bit. You can use this little slide bar up here to slide. I'm just using my mouse. And then let's see if we can get all the way down to felines maybe. Again, I'm going to click on my clip so it's highlighted. Command K. I want to keep this piece right here to the left, and I'm going to click on the right here and sort of fast forward through. The last part we've got to find is the part about the invitation at the fairgrounds to the date. Let's see if we can get that piece next. So I'm going to find the gap between my waveforms, make sure that I've clicked on my clip so it's highlighted. Command K to cut. I'm going to get rid of all that mess up right there. Let's see.
Here's your personal invitation to join us at Bloomer's Fairgrounds for an all-day event from 8 to 6 on Saturday, November 12th.
All right, so we got the 12th, which gets us another section right there. Make sure the clip is highlighted. Command K. I'm going to keep this little piece, and I'm going to go find the Cat's Meow Tour is what we need.
The Cat's Meow Tour at Bloomer's Fairgrounds for one day only. Meow.
That gets us what we need right there. There may be a couple other reads here.
Meow.
So we've got several of the meows.
Meow. Meow.
I think I like the meow on this first one we have right here. Select the clip. Command K. Get rid of that part right there by highlighting and hit delete. Select the clip. Command K. Click the part we want to get rid of and hit delete. Now remember below that delete key I told you about that slash key, that straight up and down slash key. I'm going to click on that so I can see everything. So these are all of the pieces that I decided to keep. I'm going to close these up so there's not so much space between them. I'm going to put my mouse in this gray area to the left of my first clip. And I'm going to right click and ripple delete and hit gap. And I'm going to pull each one of these back by choosing ripple delete and then choosing gap. Every gray area, I'm going to put my mouse, right click, ripple delete, gap, right click, ripple delete, gap. Right click, ripple delete, gap. All right, now that we've got everything put together, let's see how well we did matching it to our script.
It's finally here. The Cat's Meow Tour has purred its way up to Marcia's Cove. We've got Abyssinians, British Shorthairs, Burmese, Chantilly Kittens, Cornish Rexes, some splendid Egyptian Mouse, Japanese Bobtails, Maine Coon Cats, and many more. Did I mention our Russian Blues, Persians, Ragdolls, and Pixie Bobs? You won't want to miss this fine array of felines. Here's your personal invitation to join us at Bloomer's Fairgrounds for an all-day event from 8 to 6 on Saturday, November 12th. The Cat's Meow Tour at Bloomer's Fairgrounds for one day only. Meow.
All right, we did a pretty good job matching everything to our script now that we've got it. But there's a few little places in here where you can hear a breath or there's a little pop. We want to clean those things up a little bit. First thing I'm going to do is hit my plus key to zoom in, also your equals key. And I'm going to go to the front of the track. I'm going to click on our first part of the clip, and you'll notice these little boxes in the upper corner. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use those boxes to create a fade in and a fade out on each clip so that it does not make any popping sounds as it transitions from one clip to the next clip. I'm also going to use it to cut out some of the breath or the sound that you may hear the announcer make, so it's nice and clean when we listen to it. On our first clip, this little gray box, if you hover over the one on the right side, it says hold the Option key. That's the same thing as the Alt key on the PC. Hold the Option key to apply symmetrical fades. Hold the Command key, which would be the Control key on a PC, to change the fade sequence. Hold the Shift key to fix either fade duration. What we're going to do is hold the Option key, also the Alt key on a PC. I'm going to click on that little gray box, and I'm going to drag it a little bit to the right. Notice it's going to pull in yellow lines, which are going to be my fade in and fade out points. So when I go to listen to this,
It's finally here.
you won't hear a lot of difference, but what it's going to do is bring it in nice and smooth and take it out nice and smooth.
This cove.
Now, if you hear right here, there's a little pop.
We've
We're going to do the same thing here and take care of that. Click on our next clip, find that backwards gray box, hold down my Option or Alt key, and then I'm going to pull it to the left. And I'm also going to trim off a little bit this part right here because there's a little bit of extra space in there potentially.
its way up to Marcia's Cove. We've got Abyssinians.
I'm going to tighten that up just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is put my mouse to the bottom left-hand corner of that left side of this second clip. And what happens is I'll get this red bracket with some arrows going left and right. That will allow me to adjust it or trim it within the timeline. I'm going to left click and hold and pull back to the right a little bit. And I'm just going to drag it just a little bit to kind of narrow that space down. And here's what's going to happen when I do that.
To Marcia's Cove. We've got Abyssinians.
I may decide to close this gap just a little bit. So I'm going to click on that little area again. In between them, right click, ripple delete, and gap. And that'll close that gap. So let's see what we have now.
Up to Marcia's Cove.
That little dip in there smooths it out, and our music will cover that up in the background.
Marcia's Cove. We've got Abyssinians.
All right, let's do the same thing on all of our other clips. I'll go to my third clip. Let's see if we need to close that gap at all.
Many more. Did I mention our...
There's a little, you hear that?
Did I...
So we're going to get rid of that. So again, I'm going to go to the bottom left side. I'm going to pull it over a little bit. If it starts to snap on you, that's when this little blue horseshoe magnet is turned on. You can cut that off and you'll have a little bit more freedom as to how you slide it. I like to leave it on to snap it between clips so you can cut it on and off as you need. And then we're going to do the same thing with these little boxes up here. Hold our Alt or Option key and then drag it in. And let's see what that sounds like before we move it over.
Did I mention our Russian...
That got rid of that sound, and let's see if we need to move it over to keep it closer to our voice.
And many more. Did I mention...
So we're going to close that gap again. So right click on that gray, ripple delete, and gap, and let's see how that sounds.
Coon Cats and many more. Did I mention our Russian blues, Persian...
I think I want a little bit of space in there. It sounds like it's too close together. So I'm going to actually hit undo on that. So it's Command Z or Control Z to undo. Let's see if this gap is too big or if I need to adjust it a little bit.
And many more. Did I mention...
It's a little big. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to select all three of these pieces by putting my mouse in the outside area of the last clip. Left click, hold, and drag. I get a little selection box, and I can select just those three. I'm going to put my red playhead in the middle of that gray area that I've got. Then I'm going to left click on these clips and drag them to the left. That's where that little snap helps me a little bit. It'll snap it to that playhead of that point. See, when I slide it back to the left. Now let's see if that sounds better.
Cats and many more. Did I mention our...
That gives us a little bit of a natural pause, and the yellow lines that we've created with our fade up, fade out, make sure that the clip doesn't pop and cut where we have the cuts in the different parts of our script. Let's make these adjustments here. Let's see how this one sounds.
Here's your personal lines. Here's...
So there's a little bit of a breath between there.
Lines.
I think it's on the back edge of this one, so I'm actually going to trim this back a little bit on this side. I lost my line on this side, so I'm going to just not hold Alt or Option this time, but just that one side to pull just that one side over. And then let's go ahead and do this one. Let's see what it sounds like without it.
Here's your person.
I think that's okay, so I'm going to hold down my Alt or Option key and pull those in. See how that sounds together?
Array of felines.
I still can kind of hear that part here. I'm going to pull that back just a little bit more.
Of felines. Here's your personal
All right, let's see how the whole piece sounds now.
You won't want to miss this fine array of felines. Here's your personal invitation.
And I'm going to close that gap. Ripple delete, gap. And then let's see the end
Saturday,
part.
November 12th.
And we're going to bring these in. And let's see how that sounds.
From 8 to 6 on Saturday, November 12th. The Cats Meow Tour at Bloomers Fairgrounds for one day only. Meow.
All right, I like all that. So I'm going to Command S to save. I'm going to hit my line under my delete key. That's at an angle so I can see everything. And now let's hear if that sounds a little smoother.
It's finally here. The Cats Meow Tour has purred its way up to Marcia's Cove. We've got Abyssinians, British Shorthairs, Burmese, Chantilly kittens, Cornish rexes, some splendid Egyptian mouse, Japanese bobtails, Maine Coon
All right, there's a really long space right here
mouse,
where there's a breath. I'm going to tighten that up a little bit. So we're just going to cut that too. So I'll put my mouse sort of here in the middle. I'll click on the area I want to select. Command K to cut it. And we're just going to pull some of this back a little bit. So again, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Hit my equal plus key to zoom in. Click on my clip that I want to adjust. Go to the bottom left-hand corner till I get that red bracket. I'm going to drag it back a little bit. Let's see if we can shorten that space up a little bit.
Egyptian mouse,
And I'm going to bring that sound there a little bit back a little bit. Now I've still got to bring my yellow line back over here, so I'm just going to not hold Option this time. Just click on the gray box and bring that fade out over a little bit.
Egyptian mouse,
And then let's see what we've got here.
Japanese bob,
So then I want to add it on this side. So click the left box and bring it in a little bit. And let's see what my space, if I can.
Egyptian mouse, Japanese
So then I'm going to close that gap. So click in the gray area, right click, ripple delete, gap. Now let's see if that sounds better.
Cornish rexes, some splendid Egyptian mouse, Japanese bobtails, Maine Coon cats, and many more.
I like that better, so I'm going to save, hit my slash key, and let's listen to the
Blues,
rest of it.
Persians, ragdolls, and pixie bobs. You won't want to miss this fine array of felines. Here's your personal invitation to join us at Bloomers Fairgrounds for an all-day event from 8 to 6 on Saturday, November 12th. The Cats Meow Tour at Bloomers Fairgrounds for one day only. Meow.
All right, I like it. I think we've got our voiceover track good. So again, make sure you've got that saved. And now let's go and add some background music. If you look back into your files, we've got this Positively Winter soundtrack that we're going to use. So I'm going to locate that, left click on the little waveform icon. I'm going to drag that over onto track 2, slide it all the way back to the left so it's all the way at the beginning. And I'm going to label our track 2 as music so that that's done, and I'll hit save so that that's in there. Now what we want to do, it may say one or more media track sessions located outside the folder. If you get a menu that pops up like that, hit don't show again and just hit yes, just to make sure all your stuff stays linked together. Now once we've got our music file in there, we want to make sure that it does not overpower our voiceover. If I just click anywhere and listen,
Our tour has purred its way up to Marcia's Cove. We've got
you'll see that our background music is way too loud in a couple different areas. Number one, it is overpowering our background music. And number two, check out the VU meter.
Abyssinians, British Shorthairs, Burmese, Chantilly kittens.
Notice it's in the red. It's above where we want it to be. It's too loud. So it has a chance of overmodulating or distorting as well. Now, there's a couple ways you could do this. Remember this volume line that runs through here we talked about earlier? You could click on that volume line and slowly bring it down by left-clicking, holding, and dragging. You'll see it'll come down in decibels. All right, I'm just going to bring it down here and then play again for you.
Some splendid Egyptian
Not as loud as it was, right? I could do that again.
mouse, Japanese bobtail.
And so that's one way you could do it. I'm going to undo that. So I'm going to Command Z to undo that to get us back to where we were at the beginning with our volume level. So moving that yellow line down is one way that we could adjust our volume level. I can also do it with my mixer. If I click on my mixer tab and play, I can adjust the slider as we go.
Our tour has purred its way up to Marcia's Cove. We've got Abyssinian.
So that's another way that you could adjust it. I'm actually going to do it another method. I'll change that back and go back to my multi-track view. We're going to use something called ducking because we actually want this audio to play just a little bit at the beginning of our commercial before our voiceover comes in. And then we want it to lower its sound level so we can hear our voiceover, and then we want it to come back up just a little bit at the end and then trail off with the music after the voice has finished. So first thing we got to do is make a little bit of edit to our audio track here, because we've got some empty space right here. We've got these little letters here, M, S, and R. The R is for record, and we're not going to use that one. But the mute and the solo are the M and the S, and those are kind of important to us so we can hear just one track or mute individual tracks. I'm going to solo this, which means it's going to basically hide the audio levels from being played from any other track. When I hit that, notice that the level for my voiceover goes kind of a dark gray and a black. So I can't hear it if I hit my space bar to play. All I hear is the music. From the beginning, blank, blank, and then the music starts. Let's go ahead and cut that blank part out. I'm going to hit my plus equals key to zoom in, and I'm going to go to the bottom left corner of my music track, and I'm going to drag back over to the right, and then I'm going to use my little gray box here and drag over. So now let's see what that sounds like. So that starts like I want it, and I'm going to move that all the way back to the left. So now it starts right at the beginning. All right, now let's listen to the way this music starts. That dun dun dun, that's a good place for me to stop and then bring my voiceover in. Right there. So that's where I want to bring the voiceover in, is roughly on that last little chime right there. Give that little bit of music, and then my voiceover is going to start. And I'm going to unsolo this, and I've got to take this whole voiceover track now and move it over a little bit so it starts at around this 1 second and 1 point there where I want it to begin. I'm going to hit my slash key again so I can see everything. Remember that trick I used earlier where I went to the back of my clips just so I could select those back 3 clips and then slide them over a little bit so they would match? Well, I'm going to do that same trick, but I'm going to select all of them. So go to the back of all of your audio clips for your voiceover. You get the little plus in that gray area. Left click, hold, and drag, and I'm going to make my little selection box cover everything. Then I'm going to use my plus to zoom back in horizontally. Also your equal key. While it's all selected, I'm going to left click and hold and drag to the right. And again, because I've got my magnet turned on for my playhead, it'll snap to that red playhead. You'll see if I go back, it moved everything over. And I'll zoom back in again just so you can see the waveform. So that spot, and let's go back and listen.
It's finally here.
So that gives us a little bit of music at the beginning. We still got our issue about the voiceover being overpowered by the music. Again, there's a couple ways you could do this. So one is you could set manually keyframes to raise and lower. Let me show you how that works. And then we're actually going to do it a different way. Let's say that I wanted it to play and then lower right around here on that yellow line. I can click and it's going to make a little dot. That little dot is called a keyframe. It's a point where you make a change. And then I can move my playhead down a little farther and click and make another dot. And then I can left click on that second dot and bring down a ramp. And what that's going to do, again, lower the decibel level. Notice the sound level.
It's finally here.
See how it brought the audio down?
It's finally here.
So you can manually control that at the beginning and then at the end. I'm going to undo all of that. That's called ducking, when you bring the audio level down so that the music doesn't overpower the voiceover. A great thing about this software is that there is a way to do auto ducking, meaning it will automatically do it for you without you having to set all of those keyframes. Let me show you how to do that. I'm going to go up to my window and find Essential Sound. Now this window may pop up anywhere. What I want to do is dock it over here with the same area where my files are. So this little gray bar that runs across the top, and then the word Essential Sound is right below that. I'm going to click on the word Essential Sound, and then while I'm doing it, I'm going to left click and drag. And notice it's going to highlight into different areas of where I move it to. I'm going to put it right over here to this area. It turns kind of gray and purple with files, and then let go. And now I can see both of these side by side. Make sure Essential Sounds is what clicked on. Now I've got to determine what is dialogue and what is music. Well, our voiceover is dialogue on our first track, and our music is music. So let's try that. For each one of my sections of my voiceover that I have cut up, I've got to say that that's dialogue. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so you can see better. So I'm going to click on the first section of my voiceover and set it to dialogue. And I get this little icon right here that says that it's dialogue now. I'm going to do the same thing here. Now, I can hold my command key, control on a PC, and click on each one of them and then click dialog again, notice it puts it on all of them. So I don't have to do them one at a time. Now for music, I'm going to click on my music track, and it's all one piece, so I don't have to cut any of that. And I can click music and set that to music. Now what I need to do on my music track is click this little ducking box right here. And when I do that, notice what happens right here. Let me uncheck it again for you. Our volume line that runs right through here is at the level it was when we brought it in. Remember, it was a little bit loud. It was overpowering and overmodulating. But when I click this little ducking checkbox, it automatically puts this little dotted line as to bringing it down, just like we made the little ramp with the keyframes, so that the music level is lower.
It's finally here.
Under our voiceover. And it's louder at the very beginning. Slowly fades down as we're about to do our voiceover. If you want some manual control over that, we can set our ducking amount. So right here where it says duck amount in our essential sounds, I'm going to change this a little bit because I want it to be a little bit louder for the music to last a little bit longer before that voiceover starts. So I'm going to adjust this number. Notice as I drag to the left, that dotted line comes up. If I drag to the right, that dotted line goes farther down, which means it's going to be quieter.
It's finally.
If I drag it to the right, it's going to be louder. If I drag it to the left,
here.
Right? Let's try 16 on the ducking.
It's finally here. The cat's meow tour has purred its...
I think that's a little bit better. All right, last thing we need to do is to get rid of all this extra background music that we have here for our music, and then we're going to add in a few sound effects to enhance this a little bit. I want just a little bit of music to trail off beyond my voiceover.
Only meow.
And that gets a little bit too loud, so we're going to adjust that too. So let's pick a good spot for it to end.
Ow.
Right there, it's doo-doo-doo-doo. That's a good spot, right? So I'm going to make sure that my clip is still highlighted for my music. Same way before when I cut up my voiceover, Command K, wherever my playhead is located. I want to get rid of this back part, so I will select that by clicking on it and hitting the delete key. And I'll click back on my clip that I have that I want to keep. And again, I'm going to use my little fade out. I'm going to use a different one this time. When I click on the box this time, I'm going to hold my Command key, right, Control on a PC, and I'm going to drag and I'm going to come over and down to create this little bit of an S curve. And I'm going to slide up and down. Notice it kind of adjusts where the wave that I'm creating goes crest and comes out to make a nice long smooth fade. The farther I drag over to the left, the slower the fade will be. I'll put it somewhere around right in there as it's starting to ramp back up. Let's see what that sounds like.
One day only. Meow.
It's not bad. So we get that little bit of raise up the audio and then it slowly fades out.
Bloomers Fairgrounds for one day only. Meow.
And our VU meters look good down here. It doesn't overmodulate, so we're in good shape, so we'll save. So now we've got our voiceover and our music done. Let's add a couple of little sound effects in here to make it sound a little bit better. We've got a cat meowing, a cat purring, and a cat purring and meowing. Let's put these in here. A good spot, let's see, to find.
Cat's meow tour has purred its way up to...
Has purred its way up. So let's find the purr there.
Cat's meow tour.
Has purred. So let's go find our cat purr. And I'm going to drag that down to track 3.
Has purred its way up to Marcia's Cove. We've got...
Marcia's Cove's a good place to stop that. So I'll kind of put that right there. The playhead's where I want to be. Make sure it's selected. Command K to cut. Click on the part I want to get rid of. Hit my delete key. Again, I'm going to make my fade in, fade out. So I'm going to hold my Alt Option key and then pull in both sides. Let's see how that sounds.
Cat's meow tour has purred its way up to Marcia's Cove.
So let's label this track purr and hit return. I'm going to go to my mixer and I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. So let's go back so we can listen to it live.
Here, the cat's meow tour has purred its way up to Marcia's Cove. We've got Abyssinian.
I think that sounds pretty good. Just by dragging my slider down a little bit. Let's go back and listen again.
Here, the Cat's Meow Tour has purred its way up to Marcia's Cove. We've got
Just gets that little subtle purr in there, which is good. All right, let's find a place to put our meow here.
Abyssinians, British Shorthairs, Burmese Chantilly kittens.
So we'll go find our meow. Drag that on the track below that, because it might be at a different sound level, so we don't want to put it on the same track as our purr. So you can see how much louder it is, so we definitely want to lower that one. So let's come over here to track 4 to our meow, label that one. And we're going to back up and go into our mixer so we can find our meow.
British Shorthairs, Burmese Chantilly kittens, Cornish Rexes, some splendid.
So let's try 18 roughly. Let's say roughly around 19.
Chantilly kittens, Cornish Rexes,
There we go. That gives us a nice little piece. I'm going to save. Let's see. Let's add our purr and a meow somewhere now.
Splendid Egyptian mouse, Japanese bobtails, Maine Coon cats, and many more. Did I mention our Russian blues, Persian?
Let's go with Persians for our purr and meow. All right, so this is our purr and meow here. Again, let's put that on a different track.
Persians, ragdolls, and pixie bots.
And we're going to bring that volume down a little bit. So let's label track 5 as purr and meow. And then let's go into our mixer. And I'm going to bring that one down, let's say to 12, minus 12-ish. And let's see what that sounds like.
Mention our Russian blues, Persians, ragdolls, and pixie bots. You won't want to.
I'm going to move it so that meow takes place right in that little hole right there, so I can visually see where our playhead is. I can visually see where that meow starts. I'm just going to move this back a little bit so that meow hits around that hole. Let's listen.
Ragdolls and pixie bobs. You won't want to miss this.
Here we go. Let's save that. And I just realized I forgot to put my fade spots on here, so let me zoom in to do that so make sure we don't hear any cut points. So we want to hold our Alt and pull those in, and we're going to do the same thing down here. On our gray boxes, hold our Option or Alt and pull in. Now let's go back out and listen again to where we left off.
Ragdolls and pixie bobs. You won't want to miss this fine array of felines. Here's your personal invitation to join us at Bloomers Fairgrounds for an all-day event from 8 to 6 on Saturday, November 12th.
I like it. Sounds good. All right, let's talk about exporting this and how we get this into an MP3 file. So again, this is a session file. Make sure you've got that saved, so if you ever need to make any changes, you can always go back and adjust these tracks individually in terms of any changes you would need to make. Always make sure you label all your tracks as you go, especially as you get into more and more tracks. That makes it easier to locate what changes you might need to make or adjust what you're trying to do. To export this, make sure that your blue highlighted box is surrounding your editor, which is your multi-track view. Then you go up your top menus to File, come down to Export, and choose Multi-Track Mixdown. Then choose Entire Session because we want to get all of the work that we did here today. Once you choose that, you'll see this box pop up that says Export Multi-Track Mixdown. A couple of things. You should see the name that we created earlier, which should be your last name and your first initial _ audio com for audio commercial. And then it's going to add this word mixdown, which means it's going to mix all of these tracks together, which is fine. If that bothers you, you can delete just the word mixdown. But that's going to be our file. We want to choose the location, so we will browse and we want to go and find that audio commercial folder that we made earlier. So find your audio commercial folder, and we want to choose the format as MP3. Make sure you got it in your audio commercial folder, make sure it's labeled correctly, and then hit save, and you should see your format as MP3 here as well. If not, you can choose it there as well. Once you have all of those things, we're going to leave all the other presets as they are and click on OK. It'll do a quick little spin on the dial that it's exporting, and now we should have a final product. If we go back to our desktop and our audio commercial folder, we should find our finished MP3. Last name, first initial audio com, mixdown. We'll check it.
It's finally here.
And after you check it, you'll see that everything's there and you're all set. Hope you enjoyed this project using Adobe Audition. If you liked this video and found it helpful, please give us a thumbs up and drop a line in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell for alerts of when new videos are posted. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy creating.